Today we're back in Surfside, Florida, and we're on actually the north side of town today. So we're going to be walking through some areas here that we actually haven't walked through yet. So it'll be interesting to keep changing it up for you guys and always seeing new things. And we're going to start off today strong with why you need to be very careful, guys, if you are looking at taking out some sort of home equity line of credit or a home equity loan right now. Because a lot of people have a lot of equity. In fact, the average person right now has about $200,000 in equity to actually tap in their home. And it can be very tempting to tap into that additional wealth for whatever reason. You know, some people tap it for renovations, other people use it to send their kids to college. Some people are smart with it and they'll use it to make an additional investment, which I think is the best use for it. And some people will just blow it or use it to consolidate other debts. You know, they have a lot of credit card debt, they have car payments that need to be paid off, and student loans or whatever. And they use the money to pay off that kind of thing and just hope that they can come up with the money later on. So today we're going to start with 3 reasons why you should not be doing this, because a lot of people get in trouble with borrowing against their home. And even though you have probably record high equity right now, these are some reasons of why you shouldn't be doing this. The first thing is, and this is something that I've been saying all the time on my channel, is just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should. Okay, so that's really the first lesson here. You know, just because you have that equity available doesn't automatically mean that you need to use it for something. You know, just don't let the money be burning a hole in your pocket. Hang on to that, because you never know when you might need it. That's the first thing. So the next thing to consider is, because you never know when you might need this money, a lot of people are very underprepared for retirement, guys. And maybe you didn't do a good job of saving for retirement and you're getting closer to it, or maybe you're younger like me but you've never saved a single dime towards retirement. Then your house could end up being your last resort to actually give you a more comfortable retirement. People then, once they go to retirement later on, they'll use their home to perform a reverse mortgage and pull out the money like that. Or later on, you can borrow against the equity of your home to pay for retirement. There are ways that you can use the equity in your house to pay for your retirement, but I would say that should be the last resort. But the thing is, if you blow it all now, you're not going to have that available to you. So that's one thing to consider. Another thing is, right now, just because you have all this equity doesn't mean you're going to have it forever, guys. As we're on the verge of the housing market doing a 180, and we're seeing lots of price reductions out there, and we're finally seeing homes sell for below asking price in many areas, there is an extremely high chance that the amount of equity is going to go down in your home sooner than later. So what if this happens to you? Well, you're going to be way more likely then to end up underwater on your mortgage, because now you owe even more money on your property than you initially did when you first bought it, because you just took out a bunch of money against your property. And then as values start to go down, you could end up underwater. And if you do find yourself in a situation, God forbid, that you might need to sell, you know, because you lose your job in this recession, or something unexpected happens in life and you need to move for whatever reason, you could be in a situation where now you're facing short sale or even potentially foreclosure, guys. So you can get into a real hairy mess real fast if you're not careful when you're borrowing against your house. Now, what about all the people that usually use it to consolidate debt and all kinds of things like this? On the surface, that might seem like a good idea, because your home equity payment is going to be considerably lower than your credit cards or your student loans, or even maybe your car payment. Well, I'll tell you why that's a bad idea. Because if for some reason you need to end up filing bankruptcy one day, all that consumer debt, like your credit card debt, your medical bills, your personal loans, things like that, can actually be erased in bankruptcy. However, if you file for bankruptcy and you consolidated all that debt into your home instead, that debt can't be wiped away in bankruptcy in many cases. So now you just put yourself on the hook for all of that debt, and you'll never be able to get out from under it, which could completely ruin your life, guys. So I know a lot of this sounds like worst case scenario, and it is, but it's just a fair warning because this is the situation you can actually find yourself in if you're not careful and you don't know what you're doing. So taking any kind of loan against your home is a big gamble, guys. You're putting up your security at risk. This is your place to live, and if you lose that, you're on the streets just like a lot of other people. So to me, it's really not worth putting it up at risk when it's really the only asset that you have. I mean, if you're rich and you have plenty of money and properties and things like this, then I'm sure it's not a big deal for you. But you know, for a lot of people, this is the most valuable asset that people own, is their home, you know? This week is definitely another big blow to home buyers because we saw mortgage rates jump yet again, guys. Now the average 30-year rates are pretty much hovering around 6%, getting very close to that predicted number that I predicted by the end of the year to be 7 to 8%. So we're only 1% away from being within range of where I predicted they'll be by the end of the year. And we still have the rest of September, October, November, and December to go. So we're a long ways away still from things being over, and we're almost there. And guess what? It's coming in a couple of weeks. Another rate hike by the Fed. So we can pretty much almost guarantee that this is where things are gonna end up by the end of the year. And this is something you need to look at as good news, guys, because yes, it makes things more expensive right now, but if you have the ability to hang on and just wait this out another 6 months to a year, these higher rates are going to wreak havoc on the housing market, and sellers are going to have no choice but to lower prices, guys, because buyers are just not going to be able to afford the homes out there that are today's prices at these rates. It's just not going to happen. So people who really need to / want to sell are going to have no choice but to lower prices within the next 6 months to a year if they want to have any shot at all against selling. That's just the reality, guys, because we've already seen mortgage demand drop completely through the floor. It's down something like 89% from this week 1 year ago, guys. So that's almost completely dried up. That's how few people are out there seeking a mortgage right now, and we haven't even hit those 7 to 8% mortgage rates yet. So imagine what the landscape of buying a home out there is going to look like when we do. It seems like basically no one's going to be buying at that point unless they absolutely have to. Magically they can afford it, and you know, they just find the right deal. But basically it's going to eliminate pretty much everyone from buying once rates go up to the 7 to 8% range and prices haven't budged yet. So yeah, of course, there's a lot of sellers out there. People will always give the same feedback in the comments. Oh, what about those people that, you know, they only got 3% interest rates and they got healthy equity, they don't need to sell? Great, they don't need to sell. You're right, guys, they don't. But there are always people who do need to sell. That is just the way the world works. You know, I was talking to my broker who owns Beachfront Realty the other day. That's the company that I work for. And I was asking him, you know, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think there's going to be a housing market crash? You know, what's your take on all this? And he's been in this business for like 30 plus years, guys. So he doesn't think there's going to be a crash in the sense that, you know, business never stops, guys, especially here in Florida because we're in such a desirable place to be. No matter what's going on, there's going to be activity, which is just always the case, all right? But we haven't seen in recent history of a time when affordability is at an all-time low with interest rates as high as they're getting. We just haven't seen it. So that is one of the big wild card factors here. And the Fed is going to continue doing these rate hikes whether you like it or not. So this is all going to impact the housing market whether you like it or not. is pretty much the moral of the story here. And so the thing that you got to remember, guys, because business is always moving, one thing that he said to me is like, yeah, people are always moving. People are always having babies. People are always looking for better schools. People are always on the move, guys. And that has always been true since I've been in real estate, since he's been in real estate. And, you know, that's not going to change regardless of what's going on out there. So that's why the point that I'm trying to make here is people are going to be buying and selling real estate no matter what, no matter where the interest rates are. So, but how is that going to happen? Well, something has to give. Either the buyers need to be able to pay these higher prices at these rates, or the seller will have to lower the price so they can afford to buy. Because if that seller needs to sell for whatever reason that life throws at them, they're going to have no choice but to bend to what the market is bearing at the moment. That's just the way real estate works. And we can see that supply and demand is not going to be a problem for very much longer. Basically anywhere, guys. Supply is increasing all over the country, and my prediction is by the end of the year, we'll probably be at the same inventory levels that we saw pre-pandemic. So, which is about 1.3 million homes on the market at any given moment. That's the amount of inventory that was on the market for sale across the entire country before all this madness began. And we're already at over 750,000 homes, which is increasing a lot. So I think it's safe to say that in a few more months, as inventory keeps increasing and the demand to purchase goes down, the amount of homes being sold goes down, we're going to see this supply build. And when the supply builds and when the interest rates are high, it's going to have the effect on the market where prices will just need to go down. It's that simple. Now, things are getting so bad in the Bay Area in California when it comes to housing prices. In this small town of Milpitas, I think that's how you say it, teachers literally can't afford to live in this area, and the local government there is so desperate to find teachers a place to live so they can actually live and work in the community without having to commute somewhere 2 hours away, that they're asking people, you know, please rent out your spare bedroom to one of these teachers because they have nowhere else to go, guys. That's how desperate the situation is getting. And honestly, it's super sad because obviously schools cannot run without teachers. You know, if there's no one there to teach, then kids aren't going to school, first of all. And second is, you know, teachers have to go to school for like what, minimum 4 years of college to get a degree and become a teacher in whatever field they're looking to do. And then this is the life they have to look forward to. It's really sad, guys. I mean, this just goes back to what we were talking about the other day about the college degrees and, you know, the student loans and things like this. And I'm definitely not saying that nobody should become a teacher, because obviously we do need teachers in the world. But it's sad that it's coming to the point where people might not want to do this anymore because the benefit is just not there. I mean, you're looking at practically being homeless and couch surfing if you live in the Bay Area and you're becoming a teacher. And that's just over there right now. Imagine how many other places in the country this could be like in the next 10 to 15 years. So where's the incentive for people to become teachers when this is the type of housing and living situation they could be looking forward to in the future? So I wouldn't be signing up for that type of abuse, essentially. You know, you're basically volunteering to put yourself in the poorhouse at this point in time. And I also understand not everything in life is about money, and a lot of people who become teachers do it for noble reasons because they care about children and their futures. I know a couple teachers who feel that way, guys. So it's definitely not all about money, but people need to live. And if you can't even afford your basic necessities, like your own place to live without shacking up with somebody, then we know some of these professions could be in big trouble. The Mortgage Bankers Association, they just put out a report today talking about how the median mortgage payment is now 50% higher than the median rent payment across the country right now. And this is the largest gap that we've seen between renting and buying since 2009, guys. And we don't have to think real hard about what happened back in 2009. That obviously was the last housing market crash back in those days. And it's funny because there's so many things happening right now in our country that mimic what happened during the last housing market crash, but yet there's so many people out there saying how it's not the same this time. We're not going to see a housing market crash this time because there's too many strong factors, but yet all of the same activities that took place back during the last crash are happening right now, but somehow people think it's magically just going to stay afloat. So that's the funny thing, first of all. But get this, guys, if we go back to the end of 2020, there was almost no difference in the cost to own versus rent the median place in the United States, okay? But fast forward to as recently as July of this year, okay, the median rent across the country is about $1,300 as of June 2022, okay? But the median mortgage payment is $1,893, guys. So that's over $550 more a month to own a place than it is to rent. And so many people are always going through this dilemma, you know, should I buy, should I rent, you know, and then they hear things like renting is a waste of money and all of this. And I know I've gone over this before, but I want to say this again for people that never heard these segments of my videos, is that renting's not always a waste of money, guys. You can have your opinion on this all day long, but I don't know in which universe it's not smart to be saving $550 a month. And I said saving. I didn't say spending it on a car or anything else, because now you got extra money in your pocket. If you can save $550 a year, you're talking over $6,000 a year that you could be saving. And if you put that money towards a future home purchase in just 3 or 4 years, you could have yourself a nice 20 grand down payment for your future home. Or maybe even more if you have a spouse or you live with somebody that can help expedite this. So, and you both save together. That's exactly what I did, guys. I rented for a long time because I was in this same exact situation that we're talking about right now, where my rent was significantly less than what my mortgage payment would have been. We're talking, my gap was much bigger than that. We're talking $2,300 a month versus $4,000 a month. That's $1,700 per month, guys, saved. And yes, to answer your question, my wife and I, we saved the money. And that allowed us to have money to buy our own place and get an amazing deal. And that's exactly what we use the money for. And I think a lot of people could be looking at doing this right now because, let's face it, guys, with house prices where they're at and where the mortgage interest rates are headed, people can't afford it, okay? So that's the first thing. So you might not even have to have the dilemma or the debate of should I buy or should I rent, because chances are you probably can't even afford to buy anyways. So you're gonna be forced to rent. So if you are gonna rent, you might as well get the best deal on a rental as you can and save that difference. And I've seen some of you say in my last video in the comments about, you know, what millennials are doing. Some of you are being really smart, guys, and I love when you write me this stuff. And you say, you know, I make a lot of money, I make 100K plus a year, but I'm still living with my parents at 24 years old to save for a down payment on my home. And I love that, guys. I think that is one of the smartest things in the world that you can do, is just delay living on your own and, you know, making that huge salary and saving basically all of it. That is extremely smart. So congratulations to people who are doing that. I think that is fantastic. So far, guys, I haven't seen any houses for sale in this section of Surfside, which maybe is not such a big surprise because all these houses you see behind me here, all these are waterfront houses, so most people don't want to let those go, and if they do, it's for a giant premium, believe me. Must be fun living next door to this, huh? That's what a couple $1 million buys you. Construction zone. How's this for a real estate story, guys? The city of Portland, Oregon is getting so disgusting and so overrun with homeless people that people are fleeing the city now because it's just becoming unbearable. There was an article today, and you know, I'm gonna put up this picture that they had in the article of how these residential neighborhoods are looking right now over there. This is the type of filth that people are living in, and people are looking at selling their houses. And a local real estate agent over there was saying, hey, this isn't easy to sell because, you know, we have dumpster fires and tents right in front of these properties. So it's going to be difficult to unload this, to say the least. And it's not even just the homeless, guys. The crime in Portland has spiked by 25% recently. Motor vehicle theft is up by 51%, guys. Burglary is up 20%. Robbery is up 42% compared to just 2020. So things have gotten that much worse in just 2 more years. So literally, Portland, Oregon right now is becoming the poster child of what is looking to be hell on earth if you live in the United States. Now, obviously, if you go to some really banged up third world countries, it can get worse than Portland. But that's exactly kind of the point here, guys, is things should not have to be this bad in the United States, where this is supposed to be the best country on earth, and people literally are fleeing their homes because it's becoming unlivable. And I don't blame them, guys. If I lived in this neighborhood, or even in my neighborhood, and things started looking like they're looking in Portland, I would be out of there too. And there's plenty of places in the country you can go that don't look like this, that don't have homeless camps in your front yard. But the fact that the government there just lets this happen, lets these people, you know, set up shop right in residential neighborhoods, just like where I'm walking through right now, is completely criminal, guys. And I just can't believe that in 2022, this is the situation and these are the problems that we're facing in our country, that this is a reality. Oh, it's great that people are moving away and saying, I've had enough, but what about the ones who are left? What about the people who are buying those houses, guys? Would you buy one of these houses in Portland right now, where you got this row of homeless tents right in front of your neighborhood like this? You couldn't pay me to buy one of those houses. You couldn't give me one for free. I would not take it, guys. I would not want to set foot in an environment like that. I've been to California many times, and I've walked down the sidewalks of LA where they have homeless tent after homeless tent, and same thing with San Francisco, and it's ugly, guys. Not only is it disgusting, it smells completely horrible, but you know, a lot of these people are mentally ill and, you know, are just flat out dangerous, and you don't need to be walking around your neighborhood worried for your safety. So I don't worry about walking through here. I'm not worried about some drug addict with a needle who's gonna jump out of the bushes and stab me, okay? So it's nuts. Let me know in the comments if you guys would be buying a house in Portland if that's what your front yard looked like, because I sure as hell would not be. And one last thought on Portland, guys, is there are businesses that are closing as well, not just people moving away, because a lot of these people that are moving are business owners, so they're closing, and people who aren't moving but are business owners are having no choice but to shut down because they're getting broken into and burglarized so many times that it's making it unprofitable for them to even be open. And this is a place where they have the defund the police movement going on and things like this. So this is the end result of defund the police, and let's just let all of the drug addicts run rampant, guys. So everybody in the country who watches right now should be looking at Portland as a great example of exactly what to never do, guys. And if you do live in Portland, sorry guys, I have to rip on you, but it just is what it is. You know, I know it might not be your fault individually, but the city government there collectively as a whole has completely failed your city, sorry to say. If you enjoyed this video and you found it entertaining, please subscribe to the channel. Check out my next video on the screen right over here, and I'll catch you over in the next one.